Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Launch Space. Today, we're talking about Microsoft Dynamics 365 Commerce Functional Consultant Certification. So we have some new e-commerce capabilities in Microsoft Dynamics 365. And we have a couple of guests who are going to talk about the new capabilities and also help you navigate the certification that we have. So Kurt and Janet are here with us. Kurt Hatlevik, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, coming all the way from Norway? Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for letting me come along here. Yeah, I'm from Norway, the west coast of Norway. It's actually the sister city of Seattle. So we have pretty much much of the same climate as you have. I've been working with Dynamics 365 since basically the product was born. I've also been an MVP for the last 10 years, and also have the privilege to really dig into the commerce solution and what is here. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Great. And Janet, you want to tell us
Hi.
about Hey.
My name is Janet Blake, and I've been in the Dynamics world since 2006. I was a technical consultant until 2019, when I moved from Microsoft Consulting Services into its worldwide learning area. I put out instructor-led training for several finance and operations apps roles.
Great. Thank you. Hey, one thing before we get going, I just want to invite all those folks who've joined us on the Microsoft Developer YouTube channel. Welcome. Thank you for joining. If you want to join us on Learn TV at aka.ms/LearnTV, you can interact with our guests. It's a live broadcast. So if you have any questions, please do throw them up and we'll jump in and ask them during the session and or take questions at the end as well. So thanks. And we'll let Janet and Kurt get going.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. And I was hoping that we could maybe talk a bit about the experience. And I've been through the certification process. It was hard for me, but I actually managed, so I can celebrate that. I'm actually a certified MB340 Dynamics 365 functional consultant. So that was very nice. So maybe I can share some tips on the road that I have. We have made a small deck, and hopefully we can go through some of the information and some of the tips that we have. So the agenda today is, maybe I would like to start with basically show you a bit about what the Dynamics 365 Commerce is. I have some small demos and maybe see how the solution is kind of working. And the next step is maybe to have a small discussion regarding what does it mean to be a functional consultant in commerce. What should we focus on when we have this role, and give you some tips on how that is kind of working. We would also like to give you some insider tips on the learning journey. Where can you find information? What kind of sites, what kind of training possibilities is there? Because there is not only one way of learning this. There are several ways, and there is a lot of material available to all of you. And later on, Janet, you also have some points you would like to discuss at the end, I guess.
I will talk about the MB340 objective domain. That is what goes into the test. About Microsoft Learn, about the instructor-led training, both the course outline and the labs that we have in them.
Perfect. So, anything else you want us to discuss before we jump into it, Jane?
Let's do it. I'm anxious to see your demos.
Yeah. So I brought up this picture to kind of address like what is commerce about and so on. And I like this picture because it's basically showcasing that it's all about the commerce experience that we have out there. So, but what we typically see on the commerce space is that it is actually not only the consumer part that kind of are starting to use these tools. We see a much broader uptake on the B2B business to business kind of area. So we see that people who is selling, were companies selling to companies, they would like to have pretty much of the same experience as consumers have had for years. So it is great to see now that the offerings and the possibilities we have here is now basically covering both of those areas where we see that the commerce piece is kind of then something available both from a business perspective, but also from a consumer perspective. The other part is that the consumer today, they kind of expect the system to know much more about them, so that you have the capability of going through a customer journey experience where you start on one platform, you go into this store, you have a follow-up later on. So the system and the processes should follow them regardless of what kind of platform they're going into. And in relation to that, the other part that's also is kind of important is that we can meet the customers basically on any device that they have. Some customers, they would like to use the cell phone. Others prefer maybe sitting on a PC or a pad or so on. And we also see the same experience is wanted from those who's actually providing the commerce offerings. So when, for instance, one thing that I typically see now that sometimes wondering about is that why do we have checkouts in store? For instance, it was natural before because then you would have cash, or even maybe not the customer were allowed to touch the products. But now we typically see that everybody is paying with cards, paying with a mobile phone. So the whole concept of having a point of sale, for instance, at one specific location is no longer present. So you typically see that those who's working in stores and the customers, they are working freely, and with these kind of tools that you can bring along you and perform the transaction exactly where the customer is, it is something that is quite common and usual, right? So the next thing maybe we should talk about is the consumer shopping journey. And the consumer shopping journey is basically an idea of how a customer moves through the experience of buying. And the first place that typically customers end up is on the awareness side. So this basically means that the customer know that you do exist, that you have advertising, that you have loyalty programs, that you have blogs and media that the customers can go to. After the customers basically know about you, then they typically move over to the next phase, which is the evaluation phase. And here they're evaluating what kind of products and services are interested. And they will go into store to look on the products. They will go to a website to better understand the capabilities. And maybe they will do the final ordering on the cell phone as they would like to do. But in between of that, they will also maybe check regarding information about the products they have through social media, through reviews, or even through ordinary searches. So it is important to be present on the platform in the evaluation phase. Very often we see that when people is going out and they are looking for systems that can handle that, they kind of jump right into website, kiosk, in-store, pop-up stores, and call centers, and so on. But this is basically just the time when the transaction is happening. So the customer has decided long before that what kind of products and what he's looking for. And these kind of system is basically just the commercial part of it, and making sure that the experience of buying is easy. But the customer journey does not stop after they purchased. There is also a post-purchase process where you will have deliveries to the customer. You will have maybe installation and service, customer service, but also the ability to go back and basically double check. I would assume that a lot of people who has either purchased a car or a cell phone, they actually go into the website afterwards to kind of get a kind of confirmation that what they have purchased actually is worth the value they have. So it's kind of funny to see how the post-purchase process is actually a central part of the customer experience. But in order to have this customer shopping journey, then of course you need to have a lot of back-end systems and tools in place to kind of support this process. So it means that we need to have good processes for planning and procurement. We need to know basically what the customer wants. Like we had demand forecasting, we need to talk to vendors, we need to buy the products we're selling, and so on. The merchandising and distribution is all about the goods that is basically flowing. So here we store the products. We have product information management. We have assortment, replenishment, making sure that the goods is kind of flowing from the source to the destination. And of course, in order to reach the customers, we have the marketing pieces where you do have targeting, customer profiling, pricing, promotions, basically working on how we actually present the product from a marketing perspective. In the sales operations is basically where most of the commerce and also this training program is related to. So how do we basically set up stores and e-commerce and call centers to kind of meet these demands that we have there? How does payment processing being done? And of course, at the end, where we have the fulfillment and service and financial. So this is kind of a process that we see customer goes through, and I think it's important for anybody who is working on commerce to understand this flow, because it kind of makes sure that we're not only focusing on the purchasing part, but also the entire process that exists. The next part is just showcasing some of the capabilities that we have in the system. So in here is basically a circle, and the outer layer here is basically what we call the touch points to the end customer. So here is basically where we meet the customer in both in the system, but maybe also face to face. So we have the traditional brick and mortar stores where you have point of sale, where you kind of go in, pick up the goods you want, and go out again. But we have call center capabilities, which allows customers to call in and maybe ask, but also the opposite way, where the call center can call anybody who is basically interesting. And even though that call center maybe was a bit 80s, the name remains, but the features and capabilities there is still very relevant. So we would like that when you're using the call center, you actually get a omni-channel experience. So you see the orders coming through from the e-commerce site, you see the orders coming through from the brick and mortar site, and you also handle a lot of the logistics related to the orders coming in. The mobile commerce is, of course, just a mobile piece. The e-commerce is, of course, one of the new capabilities that we got now the last, I think it's 2 years it has been available. And also the kiosk. But the one piece that I would like to highlight here is the unified payments, which is a quite important piece in this stack. And this is basically giving you the experience that you are allowed to maybe go online, buy some products, you get it delivered home, but you're not happy with it. And instead of sending it back, you go down to the store and you return it. When you return it at the store, you would like the payment to return to the same card as you basically used when you were using the e-commerce, because that ensures that there is less fraud. It may make sure that every transaction is accordingly. On the green side here is more on the inner side of the commerce piece, where you do have the order management, the inventory management, analytics, and so on. But these are pieces of the commerce side that I like to get a good understanding on. Maybe we should demo a bit. What do you say, Janet?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do some demos just to see how things looks like. Is that okay? So let's jump into one of the nice new sites, which is called AdventureWorks. So this is a demo site for Microsoft, and I would just like to show you how a e-commerce experience looks like. And What you have here is basically a quite good new design. It looks a bit different from the ordinary Fabricam designs that we had before. And these are also themes that you can install directly to your e-commerce site. And if you, for instance, go into the app stores, you will actually see that themes is actually one of the things that is being promoted and also sold through the Microsoft app stores. So how the look and feel is more or less a commercial experience. But in this case, let's say I like this Ratchet Surf wetsuit, and I click on it, and sorry, and it kind of pops up with a small picture of the design of the product I would like to have. So I choose this one. Maybe I choose a size and a color, and basically add it to the bag. And I can see that I would like to continue shopping. So the next piece would maybe be to select a surfboard. And one of the nice things I really found here the other day was the capability that you do have these pieces here, which is called similar shop similar looks and shop similar descriptions, because these are actually looking on the pictures of the product, and it searches on the picture itself through other familiar products. So let's take a small look and see what we can find on this one. And it kind of pops up at least some similar surfboards there that exist there. I would like to choose this one, I guess, the Matau Turtles surfboard. And this was another capability I also just found here the other day, and that it was the ability to actually have a 3D presentation of the product. So as you can see here, I'm moving the product around. I can have a look on all edges and so on. And another great piece of thing I also experienced here is this button here called View in Your Space. And when you do that, it kind of pops up with a QR code, which you can scan on your cell phone. And that brings up a augmented reality where you can place this product in your space and kind of like look around and see how it kind of fits into it. So I guess for those who's working on furniture or something like that, I think that's a great extension. And I'm not sure if this is, I don't think this is something you will get part of standard, but I think it at least show the capabilities of this platform that you kind of can connect in different kinds of modules when you would like to. So let's finish up this transaction now and add this one to my bag. And it says here are the two products I would like to have. I'm checking that out. And hopefully it should come up with my login. Yep. Let's see if he remembers me today. Here we go. And you see that I'm deciding to send this to the Microsoft Visitor Center. Is that okay, Janet? Can you pick it up here?
Yes, I'll be happy to meet you there.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And I'm sending it in standard. We have the payment method. I'll also see here that I have $200 in my as a loyalty, which I can apply to this one. And I also have a credit card, which he remembers from the last time I was visiting this account. So I'm just typing in the CSV card number here and click continue. And that, gives me the possibility to place the order. And you see here also get some discounts because I was buying 2 or more surf gear. So that's kind of nice. And it kind of now brings up a order confirmation. And from my experience, what's happening next here is basically I get an email with a confirmation. I can track the order and so on. So it's a very nice experience on that. So this was the Microsoft demo. And the other part I've also have learned when trying to learn how the e-commerce piece is kind of working is actually to try to set these things up ourselves. So we did actually create a demo site for ourselves. So we just took what was described in the training materials and all the videos that exist there, and we were able to set up quite simply a new site which more or less have our own design, our own products, and in this case we can try to shop some food. And in this case I would like to have some Coke. And when I do select the Coke, I can say that I would like to have 3 pieces because I like Coke a lot. I'm adding this to my bag. and I say I would like to view bag and checkout. And you see here instantly, you also get the same kind of experience where you have typically those kind of retail discounts that kind of kicks in. In this case, it's a 3 for 2. So am I performing a checkout on that one? And he also tries to sell me some more stuff with things I can buy in addition. And in this case, I'm a very good customer. So I have actually an account on this one. So instead of paying with card, I do have the ability here to kind of apply to use my credit balance instead of using a card. So I'm applying that, clicking save and continue, and then I'm placing the order. So that is the experience both from a from a system we simply set up ourselves, and also what you can find on the demo environment. It doesn't take long to set these things up. There are very good steps on how you kind of do that. And the reason why I took Vitalia as a demo now is because if we are now jumping into the next stage of this, so let's go into a store. So in this case, this is the point of sale, which is a secondary sales channel we have. And I would also like here to buy exactly the same kind of product. So the first thing I could do is basically just to select my products and say I would like to have 3 Cokes. So I'm selecting that, and you see the same thing here as you experienced on the e-commerce site. You do get the 3 for 2 discount, exactly the same price as we had on the e-commerce site. I can also say I would like to add the customer because I know the name of the person coming in. So that's myself. And I selected myself as a customer, adding that to my sale. And the great thing here, now you suddenly see that my balance, my credit limit, is actually connected through the entire channel. So I'm utilizing the same credit limit regardless of what kind of channels I'm using. And I'm using this quick sale because the customer came with exact amount. And then the transaction here is basically done. So that was the second channel that we had. If we take the third channel, and in this case we can use the finance and operation app. So just let us log into that. And the screen that I'm showcasing here is a screen called customer service. So customer service is a very nice screen because you start the process here just by asking, okay, what is your name? Well, it's Kurt. So I'm writing that in and selecting the account that represents me. And when I'm opening that, I will see here all the sales orders that has come in. And you see here we have some orders coming in from the e-commerce, some from the call center. And we will also have orders coming in from typically a store. And when I click on one of these, you will also see that the sales order line comes in here with a Coke and so on. And these are actually the sales orders that I just typed in on the other side. And of course, I can do the same thing here. I can create a new sales order. And the next step, what he does is, so that was my iPhone, who suddenly recognized my voice. I'm writing here that it is a Coke I would like to have. And exactly as we did on the Vitalia site and on the POS, I'm specifying that there are 3 pieces I would like to purchase. And I'm saving that. And you'll see instantly that it kind of splits up this line. And now he's also now applying the same logic as you find on the other channels, where the 3 for 2 discount is kind of kicking in across the different channels. And then I click on complete to say that the transaction is over. And the last piece here I need to add is, of course, the payment method that we have. And I choose customer account here and press OK. And that's basically the end of this transaction. So that's a quick walkthrough how kind of exactly the same transaction is going through all the different channels you have. And the same logic, the same discounts, the same product, the same customer account is kind of then connected through all of them. Nice one, isn't it, Janet?
It's wonderful. I was just thinking how Commerce keeps coming out with new functionality. Each time I turn around while we were developing the training, there was something new to be looking at.
Yeah. And the secret about this, what do we need to kind of understand in order to make this work is, of course, what we call the commerce engine, the headless commerce engine. So this is the piece that is kind of connecting everything together and is making sure that regardless of which channel we have exactly the same information flowing. But while we're doing that, it is also important to kind of understand the architecture overview. How is these kind of things connected together? And now we're coming deeper and deeper into the reasoning why we actually need to learn different pieces of the puzzle in order to set up these kind of things correctly. So the first step is, of course, that we need to set up pieces of the commerce headquarters. Here we kind of are defining the products, the catalogs, the pricing, the promotions, the loyalty, and so on. So these are the traditional back office operations, which we define all the parameters that is needed to support this on the front end channels. On the top of that, we have basically what we call the commerce scale unit. And in the commerce scale unit, here is actually where the transaction is being transacted on. It is actually a separate microservice. So it kind of runs both asynchronously, but also communicate in real time when that is kind of needed. But here you will also have a duplicate of some of the pricings and so on. So it kind of means that we can place the commerce scale unit much closer to the customer. So we could have a commerce scale unit here in Norway, one in US, one in Australia, and we don't need to worry about basically latency and the network and so on, because the processing engine of it is much closer. And all of these is, of course, existing touch points, which we have had for a long time. We also have the ability here to kind of connect into external services like credit cards, shipping, taxes, services, and so on. On top of the commerce scale unit and the commerce runtime, then of course here you do have the cloud POS or the POS system that I showed. We also have connected the call center, which is actually using the commerce runtime pieces, but it's located in the headquarter or the F&O application itself. And of course, the ability to have social and emerging components that can connect into this. What is basically a bit new, not new, but is what I showcased is the capability of the content management system. So this is basically where you do have web pages, pictures, videos, and so on, which allows you to present something out on the e-commerce site. And together with that, we do have what we call a site builder, and here is basically where we are designing how the web pages should be and tailored exactly according to the colors and brands that you have. And of course, then we have these surrounding apps, and here we have a lot of other capabilities, which is also quite nice, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, recommendations. There are pieces here for ratings and reviews, which kind of automatically finds out if anybody says any words that should not be in any ratings or reviews, and also sends things to moderation when that is needed. The fraud protection is actually one very nice system, which I hope more is looking deeper into, because it gives quite a lot of capabilities, because it allows you to take more control of accelerating some of the transactions, because it's not only just checking for fraud, it is actually making sure that some transactions goes faster through the process, because you do have different kinds of calculations that can accelerate that. Then, of course, at the end, the web storefront, which is the engine that is presenting this to the market, which also is connected to it. And understanding this architecture is kind of nice to know when you are going through the certification or the training of it. But let's jump on to the next piece, which is the commerce functional consultant role. Basically, what is expected of you. And one area that I think it's important to understand is the unified commerce business operation, that you do understand the processes that is taking place from a commerce perspective, that you do understand that customers and also the users is kind of moving through different kinds of applications in the different times of their shopping journey or the experience that they're going through. The other part that I also think is important is the ability to design, configure, and manage the Dynamics 365. That you can set up users, can set up stores, can set up pricings, and so on. This piece here, which is experience in deploying and using and maintaining commerce, is also important. You need to have some experience in how we actually is rolling this out, so it becomes available. And the other part, which I also think is important to mention, is that when somebody's setting up these kind of system, it is not just setting it up and leaving it like it is. You will see that there is a constant work on improving the system, making sure that the customer is good supported and they can use new capabilities. And of course, one very, very important element that needs to be going quite deep into, and that is to understand and guide the customers towards omnichannel processes. Because I do see so often that they do select ERP one place, they do select the POS system another, which is a third party, and they select an e-commerce, which is also not connected. And then they think that this is easy to integrate, and I can promise you it is not easy to integrate. So by looking deeper into the stack that already exists there are some huge savings that can be done. I see that there are thousands and thousands of hours being used because they would like to have a best of breed in the e-commerce or a best of breed in the POS, but the whole cost of the implementation is too high. So the other part that also is relevant here is that when you're working with the e-commerce, you will see that the space and the area is quite large. It is extremely amount of available information, and you will see that that it is impossible to know everything. So you need to specialize. And one of my recommendation is to kind of find the area where you can kind of dig a bit deeper, and but you should still have what we call a quite good width and understanding the entire breadth of the application, but kind of go deep into one of few areas that is relevant. Go deep into payment or to POS or to e-commerce. But if you try to cover them all, it will take quite a lot of time to get experienced on all pieces. Yes. On the commerce function consult learning journey, I would just like to highlight a few places, at least where I have spent a lot of time and also learned a lot. And one area is, of course, the Microsoft Learn. They have some excellent learning path which kind of guides you through the different processes. So you can start easy by using the what I call the beginners training program, which is getting started, and it is quite easy to get along with that. And then you move further on to the intermediate, and you're going and selecting different kinds of areas. So you can go on to prerequisites of the commerce channel. You go on to maybe working with call center, point of sale, and even loss prevention and fraud protection. So go through these. They are highly valuable in doing that. The other part that also came up just these few days is a set of virtual training series. And I highly recommend these trainings. And to just showcase what it kind of looks like, it is basically 4 trainings that actually were launched, I think it's today or yesterday. And these are videos which allows you to be shown in the application itself how things kind of look like. And if I go into this one here, I think I made one ready so we can see kind of how it looks like. So you kind of end up in a training session. Let's see if it comes up. The webinar has been concluded. Thank you for engaging with us. So you have to try it yourself. That's the thing here. But it's actually a video where trainers go through each of the steps that they have here. So you'll see here on the agenda of each of one of them what is basically being covered, and these are highly valuable. So I recommend looking into those. The other part that I also use a lot is Microsoft Docs. And the Microsoft Docs, they have been working very, very hard in giving us good information about basically all areas of the application. And this is quite nice because it's kind of, you can use Google or Bing or whatever to kind of search these kind of things, and you get quite good hits on any questions that you have. One very important thing when it comes to the documentation, if there is something there missing or something that is wrong, please give feedback to Microsoft. You'll find on the bottom of the docs pages a small button where you can give feedback on the docs and the training. And they're quite quick on correcting things up, making sure that the documentation gets better and better for us. I would also hopefully say that I would recommend you to go also into the community blogs and the forum that exists. So this is just a blog post on the commerce side, and Microsoft is actually putting out a lot of good blog posts together with the rest of the community, and they are also going through new things, previews that is currently happening. So that is a great place to kind of collect more information also. And of course, we do have something we call the Yammer. That's more for the partners, and here they also have monthly webinars where they're explaining what is coming up in the next releases and so on. At least for the partner side, I think that's highly valuable because you actually do get in direct contact with those people who is creating these features and functionality, and they also seek a lot of feedback. So it's a very nice place to be. The last thing is Microsoft support. I also use that. So when there is something and I'm stuck, I cannot figure out what it is, I actually also use the Microsoft support because that is a service that most customers and partners are paying for. So use that in order to get the answers that you have. And if you're not entitled to it, you will be explained that you're not. But for most of us who have this as a service, use that because it's an excellent way of getting things solved. And not even things you're wondering about, but also things that can be improved if that is needed. So, Janet, what do you have for us?
I wanted to talk about how our win board keeps increasing as companies see the value of Dynamics 365 Commerce. As it gains traction in the marketplace, a commerce certification is only going to grow in value. Microsoft offers role-based training to get you to fast productivity in your job. The Dynamics 365 Commerce Functional Consultant Certification is for those who design, configure, and manage Dynamics 365 Commerce and provide ongoing support for the app. The certification consists of a foundational course of core finance and operations apps and a specialty certification of Commerce Functional Consultant. The core exam tests basic and cross-app skills like form personalization, navigation, and implementation. It's not a certification itself, but it is needed for later certs. The Commerce exam tests skills needed specifically for commerce. Once both of these exams are passed, you'll have the related associate certification. We empaneled Dynamics 365 Commerce experts from various industries around the world with current experience to determine what tasks were important to performing their jobs. From these tasks, we made a list of the tasks which should be trained so that a learner would be able to jump in and perform the role well. From that list, we made a list of what should be tested after some experience in the role. That list comprises the skills measured in the MB340 exam. The categories are listed here. Configure Dynamics 365 Commerce Headquarters, configure products, prices, discounts, loyalty, and affiliations, manage point of sale in Dynamics 365 Commerce, configure and manage Dynamics 365 Commerce call centers, and manage eCommerce. The weighting of the functional areas was determined by blueprinting surveys sent out to scores of experienced commerce business users and consultants. The business applications family has many certifications available to let you demonstrate your skill. There are 3 product areas: Power Platform, Customer Engagement, and the Finance and Operations apps. Within the areas, there are varying skill levels, including Fundamentals, Associate, and Expert. Each product area has several roles that have certifications. The newest in the Finance and Operations apps area, in addition to Commerce, are Developer and Business Central Functional Consultant. We have both online free and instructor-led training, like what Kurt was talking about earlier. You can find both from the exam page, aka.ms/MB340 exam. This is true for all the business application certifications, not just Commerce. The exam page, shown on the right, is your one-stop shop to register for an exam, download the skills measured on the exam, and link to training, both paid and free. The online free link brings you to 7 learning paths on MS Learn. MS Learn is always free. You don't have to sign in, but if you do, you can track your progress, resume where you left off, and earn badges. The learning paths: get started, configure and work with omnichannel prerequisites, manage customer engagement and shopping experience, manage order fulfillment and inventory, configure and use point of sale, configure and work with call centers, and configure and work with e-commerce. Total over 28 hours of self-paced learning available in small chunks. The instructor-led training is designed to be a 4-day course and can, of course, be done virtually. The instructor-led training broke down differently than the online MS Learn learning paths did. There are 10 modules here listed in the slide. Each module has content in an e-reader book and 2 exercises. The instructor-led training has been run through a beta teach in order to gather and incorporate feedback on how to improve the course. We also take feedback from the instructors on GitHub and at aka.ms/training support. We update the course as per responses to surveys at the end of the courses and keep the content fresh with the 2 annual wave updates. Having an instructor introduce and explain concepts is a valuable learning tool, but nothing beats hands-on experiences. In this course, we've designed a series of hands-on exercises, group discussions, and video demonstrations shown here. You'll learn the importance of common tasks by performing these labs. Examples include configuring commerce headquarters and call centers. You'll activate a new point of sale device and test sales pricing. You'll gain experience and the retail worker's perspective by performing common real-world retail transactions, including creating a customer pickup order and processing the order. We've listed here some links that you might find useful in your commerce journey. The deck will be posted on the show page. Now we're ready for questions at this time.
Oh, great. Thank you, Janet. And thank you, Kurt. This is wonderful. Great presentation so far. I do have one question from the audience. And before I get going there, I did want to say, yeah, Janet mentioned the links. You can get them at the show page if you go to aka.ms/the launch space dynamics 365 cert, which ironically is a short link. It actually is shorter than the actual Flames link. But yeah, you can go there and you can find all the links. I've literally just put them up during the show today. And we will have some slides for download as well in a little bit. I had some issues uploading them for some reason. Anyway, we'll get that worked out. But check back at that show page. You can also go to aka.ms/the launch space for any other shows we have. But let's get into questions. So MHD asked a question on the YouTube Developer Learn the Microsoft Developer channel. And his question was basically, do we have the same process for developers in Dynamics 365 Commerce as we do for CRM? So, for those of you who work on this, there are ways to actually customize and work with this as a developer. So how would you do that? What's different in CRM and Commerce?
Yeah, I can take that one. It is, of course, many levels of customizations and developments you can do. So first of all, you on the top level, you basically have a no-code experience on the site builder. So here you kind of can select on different modules and components which you kind of combine together. You modify it exactly like you do. But the further down you go into the stack, you can always create additional modules and so on. And the main tool we're using there is Visual Studio Code. So there is a development experience where you do have the ability to code and make your own solutions locally on your machine, and you kind of deploy them into the cloud and into the Azure. So that's at least the code experience for the e-commerce side. For the point of sale side, we normally use traditional Visual Studio, and here there is a combination of TypeScript and C# code that we actually are using. On the backend side, for the HQ, where we were working on the Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, here we're normally using Visual Studio, and it is a language called X++. I'm not sure if all is experienced with that, but it kind of resembles the C# code they have, and they have they have a framework where you kind of create modules that you kind of then upload into a tool which is being deployed. So I'm not sure, but the thing is that is it the same like CRM? Well, there are components where you're actually using the CRM piece of the stack, which also allows you to work on the development tools on the CRM, and that's typically some of the peripheral pieces that is around which will be using that technology. So it is a yes, no, yes answer to that.
Aren't they usually, though? Thanks for that, Kurt. I also wanted to add that during the job task analysis for the commerce consultant, we had a debate over whether this was a general commerce consultant or whether it had to be functional and whether we had to split out the technical tasks separately. And it was agreed among the experts that technical was different people, different specialties, different knowledge set. So that will be done sometime in the future. Right now, we're sticking with the functional.
Cool. Great. Hey, I just wanted to share, Kurt mentioned some of the pages that you can link to, and I've shared some of those on my screen. I wanted to go through these in detail. We have some extra time here. For those of you who want to ask questions, please do join us at aka.ms/LearnTV, and we can take your questions live on the air. We have a little bit of time left. And for Jonathan Tucker over on the YouTube Developer YouTube channel, I will actually post the link to the show page as well. But if you go to aka.ms/the launch space for now, you'll find it right at the top of the page, and you can check it out. But let's have a look at those links. So we talked about the show page a little bit, and I'll show those here. There we go. Thanks. So we have the show page. You can find everyone's Twitter there, a little bit more about the info. And then we have the certification pages here, some other resources too. And I did want to just highlight a few of these as well. So here's the actual exam. So Kurt or Janet, if you have anything to add, please do jump in. We've got a passing score of 700 on that one, which is pretty standard. I remember doing the DevRel. And by the way, just on certification, Kurt, you mentioned before that, it's a difficult exam. All the exams that are actually difficult, and you really need to study. So for any of you out there who are feeling a little confident and would like to give it a try, but I would highly recommend studying. I personally have been working with DevOps for years, and I took the DevOps certification a little while ago. And there were a lot of things that I needed to prepare for. So I'm glad I had some preparation beforehand. But yeah, Kurt, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
First of all, I was quite early on. I participated in the beta program of the surgery of the exam, and of course, when you are in a beta, they try all kinds of questions to you. So I guess that I was quite nervous, and the thing is that when you participate in a beta program, you don't get the results before it has gone something like 16 weeks or something like that. So it is a long wait to know if you have passed or failed. So one of the things that I did, I was so certain that I was failing. So what I did was to actually start writing a lot, and writing blogs and writing stuff that allowed me to better understand the deep the depth of this, and I kind of realized that there is a lot of things that has changed. There is a lot of new stuff that is important, and I guess that's also important when it comes to this. You should. I would actually encourage people to start studying and try the exam, fail, and try again, and you quickly get up and understand which direction these things are. So there is also important to see here that if you look on all the links that you have, you see that there are tremendous amounts of information and training programs and documentation that exists out there. So Microsoft has done a perfect job in order to kind of showcase what you could go through in your own way. So somebody likes to read, somebody likes to get it presented, and somebody likes to experience on it. And I think that's the trick here, and that is to actually spend some time understanding it, and also to participate in projects, because that's when you're learning the most. Get in touch with your client and customers who is using this or want to use this, and also walk and walk through the experience with your customer. That is also a very good tip I have.
I remember, now that you mentioned that, Kurt, when I would take exams, I would just make mental notes for a brain dump after the exam in case I failed, what I needed to study up on more. But I think you have good news for us, right?
Yeah, I passed, so I'm so happy.
That's terrific. Congratulations.
Yeah.
The beta exam is a tough process, but it is important to understand if the questions we're asking are valid. So we have to take in all the answers and evaluate them. Our psychometrician goes through them and adjusts everything at the end. So that's why in a beta you don't get the score at the end, but until later. But it just went live a few days ago, so we're now giving the scores right away. Give it a shot, like Kurt said. Find out what it is you need to study more at worst case.
Cool. Hey, one thing I'll add as well is one of the cool features for those of you who might not take a Microsoft certification at all is you can save some of the questions for later and review them, which I find is extremely valuable feature for me. I had a number of questions when I did other exams where you just click that checkbox and you come back to those questions and review them later, and you move on to the next one if you're not 100% sure about the answer. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add about the cert itself, or okay? I don't think we've got no more questions. Well, if anyone does have questions, we've got a few minutes left. Please join us at aka.ms/LearnTV and ask questions. We have got our guests here for a few more minutes who can help you out with any questions you have about the cert, about commerce. Kurt is a great guest to have. He's an expert in all things commerce and dynamics, and it's great to have him here, even for a brief moment. So thank you for doing this. All right, so let's look at the next. We've got a couple of things here I want to talk to you about. So the certifications themselves, you have the 365 Core Finance and Operations, and then you've got a exam for 365 Commerce Functional Consultant, and that actually certifies you as the associate for this as well. So, and there is a nice outline here and some certification skills that you can find out more about. And then there's an instructor-led and paid, but I do want to mention these learning paths as well. So on Microsoft Learn, we have several learning paths which can be covered. And these are what really help you prepare. I went through things for others as well, and these are very involved and are going to give you a lot of information. It takes some time, though. You really need to go in and do this. And before you start, it's really good to sign up and get credit for these as well, because as you go through Learn TV, you earn badges. Microsoft Learn, you actually earn badges and things, which and you can review things and go back later and check them out as well. So that's actually very useful.
And
Brian, if you could go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing that I also like to emphasize is that that this is not just for consultants and partners and so on. It is something that I see very highly valuable for those who's actually implementing Dynamics 365, and that they go into this matter because it is quite a lot of information that will be really helpful when you're maintaining your own commerce solution. The other part is that don't jump into this because I have customers. I'm typically saying that the commerce is not about e-commerce and POS. It is also about all other kinds of commerce processes you have. So if you sell something in your company, then this course is very highly valuable because it gives you features and functions and possibilities that you don't have on a traditional ERP system. So even though that, we don't need it, we don't need POS, we don't need e-commerce, well, it still have value.
That's a great point, Kurt. We did name the course in the exam functional consultant, but it was just too long to say functional consultant and business user. But there's so much information on how to perform the role being the commerce role, whatever your part in commerce is. Good point.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it there. We don't have any more questions. Thanks to our guests, Kurt. Thank you for joining us. Janet, thank you very much as well. And thanks to all our viewers. And the questions are great. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.